All right. We are going live, and we are live here on YouTube. It is Friday night, and Area 51 Raid Fest is currently going down as we speak.
Denise and Brian, yes, the alien gang is
I guess they got
here.
a stage and
So you can see the party still happening. So
not quite half. Oh, this is somewhere else. This is in downtown LA. So a lot of people are just hanging out in downtown Las Vegas rather than going up to the actual base. So they're having a big.
For this, right here in Las Vegas. I also caught up with the Storm Area 51 creator Matty Roberts, and he says this is all just about living it up here on Earth.
Pretty cool stuff.
The Big Bang of bass.
Lots of people like waking up to the idea of aliens, so I guess this is kind of I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, man. Like it seems like all the popular stuff surrounding UFOs and aliens right now is just a lot of nonsense. You know, from what I've seen so far. I don't know what's some of your guys' take on that. I got you. Want to hear what other people have to say. I'm in the live chat, and we got 30 people going. 30 people here. What's going on tonight with everybody? This is the dude who created this drunken shit posting on. According to him, it was drunken shit posting. That's what he said it was. Pretty cool. So I guess we're gonna kick this off with my own beer. I'm not drunk, but going to party it up with these guys, and there's a lot going on right now, and we've got a lot to talk about in the next hour or two, and go over everything that's happening, because we got our own little Area 51 raid going on currently up here on the East Coast, and what I'm setting up. Here's some pictures of the raid. I guess these were taken last night. Some people showed up at the base and were at the entrance. Just a couple dozen people. Not a lot of people actually showed up to the actual base. But there's a lot of people at the festival downtown Las Vegas. So we went down and we went and shot some. I took actually Mark. We met up with Mark and Ian at the studio. That we got going on. We went and met up, and we did some recording and stuff. It bounced some ideas around about we're going to pitch a production, a 10-part series, an actual television program, kind of like show, kind of like Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory, where we're going to get a team of investigators and experimentalists together, and we're going to basically go through all these declassified anti-gravity studies from the past 20 years that I've dug up and been researching. And I mean, this is what I do. This is what I've been researching for 15 years, and dug into a lot of stuff going back even to the 80s, 30 years ago. Believe it or not, that's almost 40 years ago. Jesus. Yeah, so there's been a lot of developments going back 40 or even 50 years to when they actually, and there's a lot of debate going on between people higher up, intellectuals within the UFO community, the people that I talk to kind of behind the scenes, and going in a circle with Richard Dolan and Michael Schratt on when did they crack anti-gravity, when did they actually figure it out, and what was the study that really led them on to the insight to really understand this and figure it out. And we've been going, I kind of am the opinion that it only really happened in the last 5 to 10 years, and Michael Schratt's kind of the opinion that the U.S. Navy and these other people figured it out 50 years ago. And so we want to do a kind of a scientific evaluation and investigation where we go through all these studies similar to this one. This is the one we're going to start out with, because it's very interesting. It's related to the metamaterials. It's related to surface plasmons and polaritons, possibly through a lot of the concepts of the inertial cancellation, and the ideas that he set forward and had are very similar to some of the concepts that we know are later explored that we want to actually get into later on in the show. But we want to get something started to get going and show people that we're serious, and also to kind of put out. We're going to put out like a 1-episode pilot episode, you know, for the show where we do this one experiment, and we've actually set it up at the lab. I went and picked up Ian in Connecticut, and we drove down with some camera equipment to the lab in New Jersey, where we built this metamaterial out of uniform thickness aluminum sheets, and we painted them with an iron ferrofluid in order to kind of let that field, the microwave field, permeate kind of into this material. And we were trying to see if we got just trying to do a textbook replication as close to the actual original experiment as we could. And we didn't quite get there because we don't have a magnetometer, and we can't measure the magnetic field and get a precise magnetic field to know the exact Larmor precession. We got to get the instruments tuned, and we have to get a couple more instruments and more lab equipment before we can do that. So we're not quite there yet, but we're at least moving in the right direction finally. And I am so like, yes, this is finally happening. We're getting and more people are coming out of the woodwork. Like I said, when I launched Hubbard Brothers back in 2018, we raised almost $15,000. And we got a lot of interested investors and also people that were interested in joining the team, you know, people that are interested in researching this stuff. And I think that now we're going to, upon this relaunch, we're going to try to look for the people that really have spent the last 2 years researching the kind of core entanglement and the core physics and ideas that we've been talking about, and are really up on this type of these type of experiments to kind of join the team. And I'm going to start recruiting also around here at some of the top schools like MIT and Harvard to try to get some people to come through. And we're not going to talk about Bob Lazar at all anymore. I've wasted way too much time with him, like I said. And Element 115's unobtainium. It's one guy's story about what he says he worked on, and for the 6 days that we can prove Bob was actually on the base, there's you know, this element 115 stuff, we call it unobtainium because everything we know about it, it's too hard to produce. And we have like about 10 or 20 other studies that we know of, different experiments that were conducted and different, you know, stories from different people, different scientists with more academic credentials and provable backgrounds and more like legit physics than Bob, that we're going to really look into and focus on, and not feed into that kind of stuff anymore. We're getting down to the nuts and bolts science, and if it doesn't work in experiment and you can't build it and show it off, then it's useless, and that's all there is to it. And we're going to go through, starting with, you know, some of the easiest ones first, the oldest and easiest stuff first, to try to you know, my idea is we'll go back to the 20s with the Biefeld Brown and then work on all the developments and that effect up until the 50s and test everything, right? So if supposedly, theoretically, if they figured it out 50 years ago at some point, then we just have to go back to the beginning. That's the oldest equipment, the easiest equipment to get, and we'll just start there and gradually build up until we hit that point where we're like, all right, this was the point. This is the study that actually showed something that, you know, where they could, you know, technically and we need to talk about what we're talking about too, because are we talking about actually building a craft or discovering the first inklings of some type of effect? So I don't know. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and the scientific stuff really needs to get to the. I'm convinced that it's the newest stuff. My whole argument is that it's been 5 to 10 years max is when they first figured this out and have been building these craft and stuff. So polaritons really became a big thing about, you know, 5 to 10 years ago. They were really classified 10 to 15 years ago, and they really didn't talk about the research around it. We knew kind of about metamaterials and quasicrystals, but we didn't know like the innate like physical, these particles ideas, and the superfluidity, the room temperature superfluidity. That was amazing when they showed that. Again, the quasi-particle, it behaves like it has a negative mass and can create really low power, high intensity laser beams through a new kind of quantum process. this is the Joint Propulsion Conference in Colorado Springs that took place in July 27th to the 29th in 1981. AIAA, SAE, and ASME. These are all like aeronautical and astronautical like kind of research institutions. It's these kind of conferences where these kind of ideas that I've done a lot of the digging that I've done over the past 15 years for just different ideas and different papers and different things that because it's these studies that it was like some weird guy who wrote this paper and then he stopped publishing after that and just disappeared kind of, but he didn't die, and that's when like that guy got picked up, and his story didn't just go before that conference full of DARPA scientists that look for the next big thing, that they all go to and try to figure out what to fund next. That's kind of like that's where all the real technologies go through, is these kind of organizations. So that's kind of like where my research has been kind of, it's completely different than what other people are doing again out there, which is I think unique and kind of separates me from these other people. Hopefully once we get this research going and start figuring out anti-gravity, especially once we figure out something, once we have a successful experiment, it's going to be on from there, unless someone scoops us beforehand. So this is kind of like pushing these organizations that pretend to be about disclosure to really do disclosure. Again, TTSA took all the credit for this U.S. Navy confirmation, right? The TTSA went and said, "Oh yeah, we did this, and we contribute, we made this all happen." Tom DeLonge was posting all this stuff on Twitter and Facebook and social media about how he patting himself on the back for getting this video released. Again, he did not get the video released. It didn't originate with TTSA and Tom DeLonge. They weren't the first ones to release that video, believe it or not. And all the research has been done by John Greenwald on the Black Vault, and he's been showing the evidence that yes, this was released beforehand, someone else released it, and then he went and got the FOIAs and filed all the stuff to go after the Navy, and they responded to him, and he published that story. So he broke the actual story about the U.S. Navy admitting to these UFOs that they're unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP. Again, they change the word every so often so that it obscures the terminology. So now people don't know what do I search for? Do I search for, so all the UFO stuff's kind of been polluted. That term's kind of been just infected over the years with disinformation, liars, hoaxers, opportunists, and whatnot. And so the whole term UAP comes along, it kind of obscures everything. So now it's something they generally do with intelligence things like this, and it's crazy because the most popular things going on right now, the stuff on Joe Rogan and the stuff on all these other mainstream shows, except Jimmy Church now. I'm glad that Jimmy Church on Coast to Coast is picking up on some of this stuff and really publishing it. This is the real core research that's going to really make waves. And it's sad that Tom DeLonge wants to take credit for other people's work in this field. And I still think he's being misled by his Pentagon sources, and he doesn't understand enough of the science and isn't doing enough with the science. And especially responding to people, the people that he should be working with and responding to and being open with, if he's really trying to do what he's saying he's trying to do. You know what I mean? Because he just looks like some celebrity showman, boast, kind of it really makes me sick, Tom. It really makes me sick watching what you guys are doing and how you just take all this attention away from other good researchers and try to and you're trying to I don't know what you're trying to do, but the stuff that you've released so far from the guys that you have on your team supposedly, who have access to some of the real technology, that should be pouring out. You should be going to MIT. You should be working with labs out. You should have 7 different labs going, with people in different parts of the world, trying to bring this disclosure out, real disclosure, if that's what you're about. So I'm done with disclosure. I'm about discovery, and science, I think, is the best way towards that. And so that's why I've been promoting these types of, the real core science and the active experiment, which I'm glad to have met Mark and get these people together with what we're doing down at our lab in New Jersey. And I hope to do more and more as the time goes by, and also record more productions with this program, kind of like a this 10 to 20 part series, depending on how far we go. And it would be really cool to get more people on board with this, because this is where the revolution is going to happen. It's with the technology and the science, because it doesn't matter really. Oh, that's funny.
All right, Joe, thank you. And certainly there is some.
Jeez. See the guy run by on the.
Tell us the truth. Tell us the truth. Tell us the truth. Tell us the truth.
A lot of people want the truth, man. It's gonna happen in the next year to next year to 5 years. I would give it 5 years tops. It's gonna happen. I actually went to the bank today, and I looked at getting a loan, from the bank for 50 grand just to launch all this and get this lab and everything we need really going. As I could pay that loan back in the next 5 years, because the stuff that's going to happen is just phenomenal. What's going on right now, and I'm convinced that with these experiments, we're going to discover the technology and bring it out to the public. With we get the right science team together. We got all the people. All I have to do is reach out to a few places and pull a few strings, and we got this. So I'm doing an update now. Hey, anyone have any questions? Let me start reading some of these live chats here. We got some stuff going on. You're live now, Radiant Area 51, Josh. Hey Josh, if you're live at Area 51, can you get Skype on your phone? And I'd love someone who's live there to call me on Skype and give us a live report, if anyone could. So anyone who's this is me on Skype. Whoops, I don't want to show all my friends. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show. So this is me, Jeremy the Alien Scientist, if you search for me on Skype. And right, see, we've gone back and forth on some of that stuff, so I don't want to talk about Bob, but it's about the science, really. There's so many other people. There's so many other whistleblowers besides him. He's the most famous because he's the most outlandish, because his story's not real. But still, it's based on an element of truth, because these people exist. It's just that they don't get out to the public, They don't talk to the public because they like me. It's like hitting your head against the wall trying to show people this stuff, and people don't get it. It's crazy, man. But we're gonna get this, dude, and believe that. We got the right team together. I'm gonna reach out to all the people from Hubbard Brothers, because we raised that 15 grand for Hubbard Brothers, but I get all this flack and people call me a scam artist for doing that Hubbard Brothers thing. But bro, get this. We gave all that money back. I didn't keep any of that money. I raised it all, but I gave it all back. So all those researchers, I sent them back, and they're all like, listen, when the time comes and the shit comes along, reach back out to us, and we'll get the funding. So I might do that now. Start instead of going to the bank and paying $5 grand on a 5 year on a 5 year loan, it's something like $7 grand. No, it's like 10 grand I'd have to pay on a 5 year loan for if I borrowed 50 grand. So if I could get a whole bunch of people together to raise 50 grand, and then I say, look, in 5 years I'm gonna be a millionaire with this shit, because we're gonna discover it in 5 years. If we throw the money towards it, we're gonna get it. And at least just 50 grand to launch the platform. I got to pay. I got pro web people right now redesigning all my websites. I got like a web development team that I want to pay. Like I want to pay some good money to get a sick, solid website, and then I want to get some writers and some other scientists on board to get this show, to get a show going where we get some real like I want the lab. We got the lab set up, and we're going to get a bunch of people together to go down here and do experiments every weekend, all summer. You know, like. For the next 5 years, every weekend we're gonna like try to go down to New Jersey and do like set up experiments at this lab and record the stuff and make a kind of like a mini like a live channel out of this. I want to relaunch this channel like full time as like a research lab, almost. So anyways, I got a bunch of ideas flowing around in my head for this, and I would love to hear your thoughts if you're someone who does this kind of stuff. And we did some of the Bushman opposing magnets drop tests. We did some of that stuff, yes. I don't know if we got the guy. I didn't hear back from Mark if we got the guy. I'm going to text him and ask him if we ever got that guy, if he ever heard from. I don't think he ever heard back from the dude that was going up in the zero gravity thing, if he was going to do that test for us. But I'll have to ask him at some point. So yeah, I am Freak. He was one of the first people who logged on this podcast, but this is, don't know what this is. Sorry, I'm open-minded. Yeah, so those of you who are just tuning in and want to know who I am, I have a bachelor's degree in physics. I didn't go on beyond that because I didn't want to go into debt, and I didn't want to work in, I didn't want to do like the things that are out there. That I wanted to research classified stuff, and I wanted to research, UFOs and invisibility technology and anti-gravity technology, and I didn't want to research, I did a lot of research into a lot of. I like physics. I've always been a big fan of physics, but like, there's so much material online. It's like, why pay all this money to go to college when I can, learn it all for free on the internet? And there's so much stuff on OpenCourseWare and MIT OpenCourseWare and stuff like that. So yeah, man, we have, this studio has all like 4K and 6K cameras. They have microphones. They have they have everything. Pro sound rooms, like these sound booths that are like, it's completely dead. You can't hear anything inside, and like they're standing outside the window screaming, and I can't even hear them. So like they got everything there to do like pro media, really. And I just need to get the team together and the resources together. And I think I got this, bro. I think we got this. So that would be an interesting thing to do. Those healing technologies. I've always been interested in. Anyone heard of Royal Rife and some of these ideas of interferometry and using lasers and tuned to different frequencies so that they target certain biometrics. It's like biometrics and physics in one. So like it's an interesting field, and I think that's not something for like a show, really. For like, I really want to make this about anti-gravity and not get distracted for now. Once we figure out anti-gravity, yeah, and I have all the money to selling hoverboards and ships and shit, then I'll definitely fund something like this. Because medical technology, I definitely believe there's more ways to cure things than chemotherapy. Like there's been suppressed cancer cures and suppressed cures for a lot of different diseases and stuff over the years, and I don't doubt that. I would love to do more research into it. There's so much phony stuff out there, so I'm like really skeptical of it. But yeah, it would definitely be something worth investigating and looking into for sure. What else? healing technologies. But yeah, I want to keep this whole thing focused on the build up to the doing Polariton research with spintronics, to kind of understand understand how to, even graphene. I want to do a bunch of experiments with graphene and the production of those Dirac holes and Dirac cones and the surfaces. What you can do with polaritons on these surfaces, So I'll show this video. This is cool. Graphene is a stack of carbon atom layers. In these layers, the carbon atoms form hexagons. In 2004, physicists succeeded in extracting single atom thick. Oh, I didn't read fast enough. You guys can read it, sorry. I can read faster than I can narrate, so. This is cool to understand what happens in a metal versus an insulator, and what happens when you layer the two together in atomically thin thicknesses. Like, it's like a mirror. The metal acts as a mirror, and the insulator acts as a dielectric. And you can use it to basically pump the quantum vacuum with these polaritons. Very cool stuff. Raid. This is the raid, man. I'm showing you guys the real stuff, dude. We're raiding the real, like, deep lab here. Bro. This is the real raid. That's why all these 73 people are here, man, because we're talking about the real technologies. And, people that just want to party and have fun. We're partying here too, man. I got a beer. We're doing the real life raid. All that stuff's a dog and pony show, alright? Just letting people know. This is the real raid here, and we're not running a dog and pony show, dancing aliens around and talking about little men. We're talking about real science and real physics, the future, because science is going to be the way we prove disclosure. It's going to be better than any disclosure that you could come up with, because science doesn't friggin' lie. If we got this declassified study, from 1981. And that was when they figured it out, then this experiment's going to work. So he didn't do. So there's a couple things we didn't do with the pump. There's a couple things we're going to have to do to reorient this experiment and reset it up, because we were using a microwave, that microwave antenna cone to kind of excite the system, but in reality we need a modulation generator with a dual coil system with the opposing magnetic field in this direction. And what that does is this north and south magnet, that's the permanent magnets here in the experiment, and that's those two heavy magnets that we have in the experiment. Let me show that picture again. So here we go. Where's this? I'll pull this off. There we go. And where's that picture? Alright, so here we go. I want to kind of explain this. So this north and south magnet, or this magnet on the top and the bottom, and then this microwave source, was actually, we used this microwave and cone antenna with a, it's got a magnetron on the end with coaxial cable from a signal generator, and we were using that to try to excite the sample. in reality, we probably should make a coil here and a coil of wire on the opposite side, and like it shows here, and hook that up to our modulation generator instead. Because what this will do is basically these magnets will align all the spins of all the magnets inside here. So the spins will go this way and line up with these magnets, and that when you put this other secondary magnet and you pump that field, it unaligns those spins, and then they come back into alignment with what's known as Larmor precession. And this is all interesting stuff, by the way. We'll talk about some how it relates to Area 51 and the real research that has gone on out there. And if you want, you can look up a guy named Edward Mills Purcell, and he's the scientist that won the Nobel Prize for nuclear magnetic resonance, which is NMR. That's what's used in a lot of different chemistry and a lot of different physics nowadays. Really smart guy, and he was head of Project Rainbow out at Area 51, which was the whole invisibility study and trying to figure out how invisibility works and how to build invisibility. So he's got a memorial here. It's a big giant microwave antenna that he used to detect I forget what he used it to detect, some kind of signal to prove one of his theories. But let me see what it is. It was for the first detection of a radio radiation from nuclear atomic hydrogen gas in the Milky Way at a wavelength of 21 centimeters. Cool. So it's up there at Harvard University. Actually, I should go find this and take a picture with it. Or where that is. I'll look that up and go find it. That's cool. So anyways, this dude was from Harvard and MIT, and right where I want to go and recruit from for our next generation of the physicists who are going to break anti-gravity for real and this warp drive stuff. But this guy, he was recruited to do a lot of classified research for the government on what was the first start of Project Rainbow, which was the whole invisibility cloaks that led to the discovery of these kind of metamaterials and these advanced material technologies that they realized, oh well, they don't just make you invisible from space-time, they also like break out of the vacuum. Oh, we got Mark calling in. I wish someone would call in and give me a live update on Area 51, man. What's up, man?
Hey, are you still live?
Yeah, we're live right now. You're on the air.
Hey, guys. This is Mark.
This is my lab partner.
I'm the engineer on the project, yes. The guy in the white coat. What are you showing them right now? I can't see your screen.
Yeah, so I'm showing them what we went and did the other day. This is Mark. This is
yeah.
me,
I'm not ready to call this debunked yet. I think there's a couple of things that we were missing.
There's
like
quite a
the
few
Gauss
things
meter.
that we're missing, and we now know because we went over the experiment and stuff. So the Larmor precession is one of the main ones. We don't have a magnetometer to know the magnetic field inside of our apparatus, and the other one is the way we were driving it with your signal. We had a signal generator that produces 9 to 9.5 gigahertz, and we were pumping it with those microwaves, trying to use that. And I think that was it. I want to do the exact. Here's the setup in the diagram it shows, and I want to get a lock-in amplifier and an FM detector, and also we got to build a coil, a high-powered magnet coil to power that. You know what I mean?
You think stationary magnets aren't good enough? Like permanent magnets?
Well, you want to pump it. You want to pump it with like the electromagnet. That's what it has here in the picture. Because you need to pulse. You need to be able to turn it off. A stationary magnet, you can't turn it off. You want to be able to turn it on. And turn it
I didn't
off.
realize that. I thought it was
just
the RF that was turning on and off.
No, you have to turn off the. you have to turn, like this coil is going to create a magnetic field going in this direction. So the permanent magnets are going in this direction in that diagram, right, to the left and right. So it's pulling to the left,
Right.
and then you pump it in the you know, in a perpendicular
90
direction, like 90 degrees. So what happens is that it knocks those atoms to the new alignment with the stronger magnetic field created by this electromagnet, and then when you let it go, they precess back to that to the north at that Larmor precession, at that Larmor frequency. Depending on how strong the magnetic field is that they're in, you know, it's like a spring, you know, it's how much tension you put in the springs, how quickly it's going to snap back into position, and that's how strong the magnetic field is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't realize that the magnetic field needed to be pulsed, but that's pretty simple to do. You can just get 2 electromagnets and hook it up to some signal generator that turns it on and off. Maybe we could do that in tandem with the signal generator turning on and off to create like a pulsed effect on both energies.
Yes. So I want to do it more. We got to do all these experiments exactly the way they are in the experimental setup, and that's it, and really get down to the science of it. So anyways, I wanted to point out one guy in the comments I noticed was trying to correct me and tell me something. Oh, check out the Navy Tic Tac video. Okay, like we don't know about the Navy Tic Tac video. Well, let's talk about that real quick. So here's an article on thedrive.com, and this is linked in the description of this video below, but I'll post it in chat just so everybody has it. And here's a little, if you follow anything on the Tic Tac video and the Tic Tac, and you're interested in that, and you want to know the science of it and that kind of stuff, you should follow a guy named Jack Sarfati. Okay, he's the scientist who's been really posting a lot about this and talking a lot about this. Really interesting guy. I want to get him on for an interview. If he ever, we'll fly him out to Connecticut to come to the studio and give an interview. I want to get all the people we can, like people like this. I have a list of people that I really would like to interview for our science kind of disclosure studio. But this guy, if you want to know about the Tic Tac, bro, go check that out. And check out this patent that on thedrive.com. This is a U.S. Navy patent for a craft that looks just like the Tic Tac, and it functions on these surface kind of coatings that do the same exact thing that I was talking about there. They're basically like those atomically thin film layers of an electric between two metals, which act as like a mirror and a mirror, and a piece of glass between the mirrors, and you're bouncing the light in between the mirrors and exciting the electrons inside the glass to the point where you can polarize the vacuum and create polaritons, and those polaritons create these entangled pairs through the process of pair production, and that quantum pair production produces a disentanglement boundary, or a break off of the space-time, or a disconnect of the space-time, which would effectively create inertial cancellation. And if anyone wants some papers on this and some physics on this,
do you think the inertial cancellation is like inside the craft as well? Like if I threw a baseball at you inside the Tic Tac UFO, would it hit you with energy, or would it just move there and weigh nothing?
Well, that's what we want to find out. I don't know what it will do because I haven't done the experiments yet, but I want to do all these experiments. So David Adair, again, we're looking for testable hypotheses and real experiments, and I don't know if I've seen that from David Adair yet. If you could point me to a testable hypothesis with something from David Adair, I'll check it out. The kind of people we're dealing with, the kind of stuff we're dealing with, is much deeper than that. You know, those kind of people are I don't know. If you could point me to something, I'll look at it. But I've done some research into quite a bit of stuff. And I want people to check out this guy Bernard Haish. He's a real Caltech physicist who's written a lot of interesting theories on inertia and inertial cancellation and what inertial mass is and how to cancel it. Very closely related to some of the ideas in the Alzaphan experiment.
All right. Somebody in the comments asked about the Boyd-Bushman effect with opposing magnets creating a frame dragging on space-time. That was actually one of the first experiments we tried, and it kind of works. It's like on the
I want to get
you barely see it.
I want to drop it from a wooden platform or off of a stone cliff with no other metal around, because you don't want any kind of metal to interact with those super strong super magnets. You know what I mean? Even the tiniest bit of metal will throw that experiment off. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
You'd have to have like an all wood tower or something. But even the bolts and that would hold it together might create a little bit of extra drag. So it's hard to say.
That's definitely a concern. Another concern is that it could be interacting with Earth's magnetic field, slowing down its descent. And another concern is simply I don't see any way of turning that into a maneuverable craft. Like we're trying to fly, we're not trying to drop a little slower.
Right. I did hear something about this Burkhardt-Heim theory before. Check this out.
So who's going to donate our Gauss meter?
Well, I don't know. I was thinking of reaching out to the Hubbard Brothers investors that we raised money from before, and show them what's going on now. I also went to the bank today just to see about taking out a $50,000 loan to get a lot of stuff set up, including the websites, and just get this launched, because I know it will pay for itself. That's pocket change to what this stuff's worth. And even just the act of doing these experiments and providing that information to people is worth well more than $50,000 to a lot of people I know would pay that right now for this. So that's like. I think it's pennies in the long run. I think if I get a 5-year loan, I'll be able to pay. Keep a retainer of that money on stash, and then just to get a couple of the experiments started until we can really move up. Especially with I know I've thought of all these ideas for how we can outsource so much of this, so that we can get these students at MIT and Harvard to be doing a lot of these, a lot of parts of our experiments with us, and for us. We're using like lab equipment from the universities even.
Yeah, it comes down to the equipment in our lab. I mean,
right. There's a lot of people interested in this, bro. It's not just like. It's real academic people are opening up to this too. I don't know if you heard about Michio Kaku. He made some comments about this
that was big news.
That was big news about what he said about the U.S. Navy. It's no longer like an issue that we take we make fun of, and like it's starting to be taken more seriously and stuff. And I'd like to talk to more physicists. I would like to go back to my professor, because he used to teach classes on how UFOs were bullshit and stuff as part of the curriculum. This guy from Yale helped set that up and was pushing a lot of that stuff. So I'd like to see what they have to say now that get their opinions on this, to get some of their quotes. Even this is an interesting subject, and we really got to the science is the key part, bro. And I want to just go and interview so many scientists and just hear what they have to say. And we'll have this studio set up. It's like a 3-hour drive from Boston. It's 2.5 hours from Providence, so I can get there in 2.5 hours, and it's like pretty much, almost 2.5 hours probably from DC too, maybe 3 hours from DC. So we got a pretty centralized location here on the East Coast to bring people to do interviews and get some real smart people in to weigh in.
We're hoping to make a TV show that maybe Netflix will take it on or something like that. I was hoping it would be similar to Mythbusters, where we start out with the hypotheses and then damn, it didn't work, and we explain why it didn't work, and we try different things, and then the next episode is a different hypothesis. So similar to Mythbusters, except that every single myth ends up getting busted until, anti-gravity is discovered.
Yeah. 50K at 8% suicide. I know. There's gotta be someone else I can borrow money from. I'm gonna ask some friends of mine and see what they have to say. But because this is gonna pay for itself. I just know it. I know it. I've never felt so sure of it. Like, when we launched Hover Brothers, it was like it was gonna happen then, but we didn't have all the pieces together like we do now, and like a real clear direction. And I think once we set up, exactly how we want to do this and what we want to do, really get into the nuts and bolts of the experiment. And I want to get some students who are really good experimentalists on board with us, because I'm really good at nuts and bolts building shit, man. You saw how fast we worked in the 4 hours that we had yesterday to get all our stuff set up, man. And we did really good for being that short a time to build that metamaterial. And I also want to try a different type of material, like we were talking to we talked to our material scientist on the team, and he was telling us about what the garnets.
Oh yeah, the garnets. You can get them at Mount Dare or something like that in upstate New York. You just go over with a magnet.
Yeah,
we're gonna drive all the way up there to pick up some free garnets. You can probably get them on eBay for cheap, crush them, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be cool too to go there and get some. If anyone has some of that stuff, they can donate. Get a hold of us if anyone's in upstate New York that could go there and collect some garnets for us with a super magnet. That would be awesome.
What's with your YouTube channel? You got to get this remonetized so people can donate on the
super chats, bro. That's another thing we got to work on. Yeah, we should
right
pitch
now.
the
If anyone
show.
wants to donate, they can go to the GoFundMe page. We use that money.
The thing is,
purchase.
I can't pitch it to Netflix until the Bob Lazar thing's run its course, because the only reason Joe Rogan isn't he had a physicist on his show, a really brilliant guy from Caltech on his show the other day. I don't know if you saw that, and everyone commented in the chat like, dude, Sean Carroll, this is the dude. So he's like, everyone's commenting in the chat like, well, what the fuck, dude? Like, why didn't you ask about Bob Lazar? An hour and a half, and like, did he cut the part out where he asked him about Bob Lazar or something? Like, why? You just had Bob Lazar on, then you just had Dan Aykroyd on, and then all of a sudden you have this physicist from Caltech on, who's really smart and you don't ask him about Bob Lazar? Or did you just edit that part out, bro? Like, for real, dude. Like, someone tell me what's going on here. Does Joe Rogan have like a friggin' contract with Netflix? Because Netflix bought out this Bob Lazar thing, and they're just like, he can't say anything bad. Obviously he hasn't done his research on the Bob Lazar. It's kind of weird what's going on right now and why he's promoting it. If he's got I got people that think that, oh, Joe's got a CIA handler who handles all his stuff and controls what he can and can't talk about, and that's the theory, but it's I want to know why he didn't ask this dude about Bob Lazar, and if he did, why he edited it out. You know what I mean? Is there some kind of contract going on with Netflix? And I think if we pitched this show to Netflix right now, they wouldn't take it because we're anti-Bob Lazar, and they're trying to make as much money off that and milk that cow for everything that they can. You know what I mean?
I would disagree. I think that having another opinion would give other people more material to watch. And people will be genuinely interested in it because they're still running their course. They're still thinking about what Bob Lazar said. Hearing another opinion saying it's all bullshit could be of interest to many people who watch Netflix. Also, you got to understand Netflix takes on a movie. They pay you $1 million, $2 million, whatever they pay you for that movie, and then it's just open source on Netflix. Everybody can watch it. They're not getting paid per view. They're getting paid per monthly subscriber. So they want stuff that the subscribers want to watch. But
Yeah, so
you know,
Jimmy
something
Church
that's
is doing.
about Bob Lazar that shows another side would be very interesting to them. I was actually on the radio the other night. I think I told you about this. Beyond Reality Radio broadcasts around 55 radio stations around the country, and the guy asked me about Bob Lazar, what I thought of him, and I said pretty simply, what makes the most sense to me is that Bob Lazar really saw anti-gravity craft. He saw real technology, but was fed a bullshit explanation on how they work intentionally. They knew that he would go squealing, and they didn't want him to know exactly how it ran, so they gave him a bullshit explanation. Probably the element 115 that he saw was thorium, and there was a thorium reactor on that spaceship, and they told him element 115, which was complete bullshit.
Well, and that proton beam stuff that Tom Hood talks about too, because he was connected with the lab that was doing some of that stuff too, which is interesting too.
You know what it is, Jay? It comes down to this. They're taking the carrot of anti-gravity and they're throwing it over the Himalayas and saying, go fetch.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to even try. They're saying it's impossible. You need a particle accelerator the size of the solar system. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. It can't possibly be that hard to make anti-gravity.
Right. Well, I don't know. I disagree with that. I don't think it's this low-hanging fruit that you and Michael Schratt and all these and Richard Dolan and all these other people seem to think it is. Like that, they figured it out in the 50s, this Heim theory or this other stuff, I don't think it's that easy, bro. I don't think I want to run through all these experiments and I want to try it. If we discover something, then hurrah. But I think when we don't discover things, it's going to be just as valuable as when we do, because we're learning as we go. But I really think that the stuff that really is the key to making it work are these polariton superfluids and these graphene thin films and these Dirac cones. That's my personal opinion on this, and that's where I think we're going to eventually
helium
build
is
up.
a superfluid.
We're going to build up to that. It's not the same. It's not the same concept of what's going on. It's about the pair production and the pair annihilation and the spintronics. Okay, so spintronics is the whole idea of this entanglement. You get one thing that's spin up and one thing that's spin down, and the whole idea is that you're creating it through this process of these Dirac cones, these polaritons. You're creating these pairs out of the vacuum and creating this disentanglement boundary layer, which breaks the loops of quantum information flow. It breaks the breakdown of quantum information flow, and that's the key to breaking gravity. Is about the quantum and the information flow through the quantum. That's my theory.
That's attaching you to this piece in space-time that's getting pulled into Earth. You separate yourself from that, then you're able to, with a secondary
there might be an easier way to
fly
do
off
it
at any speed.
There might be an easier way to do it. You're right. We might be able to figure it out. Maybe this is the sport model. This is how this is the most advanced form of the technology, and how to really streamline it and get it to work like super good. Whereas, something like the TR-3B just has this inertial cancellation engine in the middle that works on a similar kind of principle, but then just uses those jets to kind of push it around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all possibilities. I'm sure there's many different ways of doing it. I was watching the other day on Gaia Beyond on Cosmic Disclosure. They were talking about one of the insiders. I know you don't really believe those people, but one of the insiders was talking about how these craft work, and he explained that basically they negate inertial mass first. They get rid
these
of
guys are
the inertial mass
LARPs,
of the craft.
and they serve their purpose. They're all LARPs. None of them really worked on this stuff. It's just classified research and a little bit of development at this point. It doesn't go. I don't think it goes anywhere near this far or this deep as these people claim. But at least they're doing their research and taking pieces of real science.
In season 10, you got to hear it. It's Corey Good in season 10, episode 2. You guys can watch it. he talks about how the Federation met on a space station near Saturn, and they basically told the 34 alien races that were on Earth doing these experiments on us that they got to go home, and they can't do these experiments anymore. So if alien abductions ended around 2017, 2018, we know something's happening. If they continued, then we know that Corey Good's bullshit. So
Well,
that's an
I don't know,
interesting way to
because
catch him
some of
and see if he's telling the
those
truth.
people that report that shit are
That's a
bullshit too.
verifiable piece of information.
Yeah, but those, how do you know that the people who report that are telling the truth? Like Benny and Barney Hill, like the first one, They're like the first big famous abduction case,
There's people that are.
And there's a lot of people
we
think
have to
that
talk to somebody in the abduction field.
They were into
see
UFOs and
if it's
everything
really
way
ended.
before this happened, and that they made the whole thing up. That's like a whole theory.
I don't
I
think
want to
they
go to
made
this.
it up. I think
One of
abductions
the
are
road
real.
trips I want to take is I want to go. They have a museum. Sorry, I'm gonna let you talk. I'm sorry, I keep talking. What do you
Hard
think?
skeptic. I tend to believe people.
Yeah, I know. I'm a hard skeptic.
I believe.
Dude.
What was that redhead's name? Guy who was gone for 5 days. We met him at Alien Con. Travis Walton.
Travis Walton, yeah, the guy who got abducted with the red hair. Yep, fire in the sky.
Yeah,
they called it.
Fire in the sky. I think that guy's legit. I mean, his story has too much evidence, and he's never changed his story. It just makes perfect sense. The entire thing, what happened. The only bit of the story that doesn't make sense to us is the technology of the spacecraft. It's the only part of the story that we really don't understand. Like, I mean, think about the settlers in the New World. If they came with altruistic motives and they met some Native American and he got hurt in that interaction, they would want to help him and let him recuperate and put him back into his environment. I mean, we weren't that altruistic when we came to the New World, obviously, but if you think about extraterrestrials from that manner, then what they were trying to do is bring him back to health, because he got hit by this power beam of some sorts that really hurt him, and he came back all healed. So they obviously did something right to him.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that kind of stuff kind of blows my mind a little bit, but what was I going to say?
It also makes sense that if there are aliens traveling the cosmos, they're more likely to be peaceful than warlike. Because if they're warmongering, they're more likely to get into a war with technology. As technology advances, the weapons just get more and more powerful. And if we had a world war today, we can destroy the planet. So imagine what extraterrestrials that are 50,000 years more advanced than us, if they got into a full all-out war, they wouldn't possibly be able to get past that 50,000 year mark. So it stands to reason that natural selection would weed out anybody who is warlike from traveling the cosmos and advancing past certain steps in technology.
Well, there's a marker on the side of the highway or the side of the road right where Benny and Barney Hill had their UFO abduction, and it's a historical marker in the state of New Hampshire. So I'm gonna have to go up there next time I'm up in New Hampshire and visit it. That'd be cool. So lots of cool stuff. I don't know I definitely don't believe these cosmic disclosure guys. I think they're all LARPs. But at least they're doing their research and coming up with some good information that they're leaking and getting out there from time to time. Or some people give them some stuff that they. I've shared a lot of the stuff with Jordan Sather and other people because I just watch him post anti-gravity videos or posts on Twitter where he's like, he posted something on Twitter the other day. That kid's funny. He's I want to see if I can find it. Jordan Sather Bismuth. He's like someone posted something about bismuth, and he's like, oh well, I made a video talking about bismuth a couple weeks ago. Like, he's like, get with it, like basically he thinks he knows everything about this technology, and like he's so full of himself, and then he's like, catch up to me, like you guys don't know what you're talking about. I'm the real source of the all the information on this. I'm like, dude, I watched your videos on anti-gravity. You stumble upon around concepts, you have no clue what's going on with this stuff, bro. I'm sorry, like you're doing a disgrace to your audience to pretend like you do. And I just laughed because, like, what do you know about the nano layered materials? I sent him all this stuff on Polaritons. I send him all this shit, try to like give him good information, and he just like he thinks I'm a disinfo agent or a troll because like I debunked like half the shit that he talks about too. And
it's easier to call you a disinfo agent than to actually take it seriously. Try to figure out how to build the stuff.
He's all in this whole thing about Podesta being, behind this, he's on this right wing like kick about like, he's got this, I don't know, he's got some weird ideas about stuff, but needs to do some more research.
What's he think about Podesta?
Well, the whole thing about TTSA being related, how Tom DeLonge went and met with Podesta, before he set up TTSA and got these Pentagon insiders to come out of the woodwork and kind of join up with him and form this team and everything. He went to D.C. and he met with John Podesta, who's like a Hillary Clinton guy. He's involved with a lot of that Pizzagate scandal and all that child sex trafficking rings and all that shit, like a lot of these other politicians and guys in politics in Washington, D.C. are, because it's a way to control them. They want to get the people who are easily controlled, and what better way to control people than people who like have pedophile pasts and stuff like that. In any case, Podesta, there's this whole theory that that Tom DeLonge. Let's see if I can find anything on this, but that Tom DeLonge and John Podesta like. That basically when he went down to D.C. and met up with Podesta and those emails that leaked, remember that like WikiLeaks thing, or I think it was WikiLeaks or someone leaked a whole bunch of emails, these Podesta emails back then, and
that was during the campaign.
During Hillary's campaign, someone hacked her emails and stuff, and then like there was a bunch of emails from Tom DeLonge,
the Russians,
talking to Podesta about UFOs. You know what I mean?
Hillary had a real interest in it.
Right.
I like Richard Dolan's perspective on it, though. Hillary promised to release all the UFO files, but Richard didn't believe her. He said all that was going on is that she was going for the UFO vote.
Yeah.
It's at that point that there's people that all they care about is UFOs, like you and me.
Yeah, the vote.
And
because
I personally think Trump is more likely. He's crazy enough to actually.
It's crazy because so many people are on that. There's so many people believe this, and this is more. This theory of the government hiding UFOs and aliens and stuff is way more popular than any other conspiracy theory going out there. Period. Anywhere, it's the biggest. But because there's so much evidence for it. There's so much shit going on behind the scenes. But that's what like Sather and it's an interesting idea that like I definitely don't trust TTSA, and I've said the reasons that I don't. It's because they don't talk enough about the science, despite having Hal Puthoff and Steve Justice and guys like that on their team. They're not saying anything. They're just showing us this video and like patting themselves on the back for a video that someone else released that they're just talking about with these metamaterials that they show, but really don't go into the science and the details on them at all, and didn't on the History Channel. Just crap. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but that's not the whole UFO moment. And like, I don't know.
The only way for this stuff to come out is through open source. You can't like try to hide. It's too big of a secret to hide. You can't try doing this in your lab on your own and discover it and turn it into anything without being open about it first. Because whatever we're discovering here, the government discovered probably half a century ago. There's a good possibility that I'm buying their old equipment. Like the signal generator that I got was from NORAD, and it does exactly like the right frequencies and the right pulses, and you have the right controls that you need to do this experiment in the perfect frequency range, and I'm buying it from NORAD. Like, what were they using it for?
Yeah, come on, that was custom made for this.
And it's crazy, it was the only one. So like, just getting our hands on stuff like that is like divine providence. It's like a pat on the back from some higher force that's showing us that we're going in the right direction. We're doing the right things. And I think if we set up the experiments correctly, we'll eventually hit that gold mine. We'll figure out how it's done.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I love that hypothesis that they figured it out 50 years ago and that they've been hiding it all this time. So we have all the declassified studies now. I've dug them all up. This is what I've spent 15 years on, and we'll go through them all one by one. I don't even want to tell people give the complete list. You know what I mean? We'll just I want to have like a suspenseful where they're waiting for the next episode to come out, and like, what's it going to be next? Like, what are they working on, And we'll just gradually go through, starting way back with, the Biefeld Brown and then work through all this stuff, And
I think we start with Boyd Bushman. That would be even easier.
Yeah, we don't have to do it in chronological order.
Many of the
start with the easiest.
Start off with the easiest, stuff that equipment that we already have. And just do a couple of experiments like that, and get it on video. Have some professionals and experts talking about it, and clip it all together and send it off to Netflix to send us $1 million. I don't know exactly how that industry works, but we could definitely use some money to put this all together. And I think the media outlet, the media method is really. Is really a great way to start.
Yeah, it is, because that's one of the things we've been missing from this channel. Like, some dude's like, oh, how do you, what, 100,000? He didn't even know my channel existed. I was a newcomer, just tuned in. He's like, how do you have 100,000 subscribers on your channel and like production like this? It's like, well, bro, it's because of the content that we're pumping out. And once we get real high-end production and a studio like these guys are going to hook us up with, it's really going to move to the next level. So I'm just letting people know we raided Area 51 on Wednesday, and we're going to raid it again every chance that we can get, so we can figure out,
The real Area 51 is in your laboratory.
Yeah, it is. We're going to figure out the technology.
So you raid Area 51 from your laboratory. Not from it's not a place, it's an idea. It's the conspiracy that they're hiding that information.
Right. Some of the science is real. We need to work on, testable hypotheses, and then, come up with a better understanding of how this stuff works. Again,
guys in the comments section, what do you think is a great name for this TV show?
Yeah, let's come up with
See if we get anything.
Come up with a name. We're trying to come up with a name for this.
Mythbusters is a great name, but that's trademarked.
Mythbusters, Anti-Gravity Busters.
Anti-Gravity Busters.
Right. Oh, I should have.
How about UFO Busters?
UFO Busters. I like it. You want to keep going? I mean, what should we do, guys? I kind of want to end it here because people are gonna tune into this video. I'd rather them see that it's only like an hour-long video than a 3-hour-long video. Maybe we can start up a different stream or something. I don't know.
We could cut it up in the middle. Does anyone give any good ideas in the comments?
Government busters, alien busters, space invaders.
Space invaders. I was thinking also anti-gravity lab.
Yeah, alien scientist. I was very, very fortunate to grab a hold of that name, because that name is fucking awesome. That's epic, dude. It just describes exactly.
That's an awesome name.
It is, dude.
That's an awesome name.
Hey, I'm gonna go grab some cheese and crackers.
Alien scientist is a good name. Hey, we could call it alien scientist.
Yeah, we could. Why not just call it what it is, dude? Alien scientists, bro.
Or UFO busters.
That'd be great. Hey, I'm gonna grab some cheese and crackers and another beer. Why don't you tell them a little bit about the Alfonso experiment that and that microwave? Where'd you get that thing anyway, man? Like that
Oh,
freaking cone.
secretive. And I met a guy at a back alley, and he logged me into eBay. And so basically, there was a guy we met at Alien Con. His name was Colin, I think, and he works in RF, and he was very interested in what we were doing, and offered to become an investor. And I told him, listen, we're not just interested in money. We need people who are actually know this stuff, and he really knew his stuff. Like when I explained to him what we're trying to do, he was like, okay, so you need this and this and this, and you need the coax cable with that connector and that connector, and he knew exactly where to get it and how to make everything custom made and for the best price. He really helped us put this together. The signal generator I found on my own. That was just a fluke, that it showed up. I'm still not even sure how to test whether it's actually putting out any energy yet, but the energy levels that we're dealing with are under a watt, so it's not very powerful. We're hoping to try an amplifier in the future. If we could just borrow one, like a 10 or 20 watt amplifier, that would be amazing. I don't know if Jeremy explained it, but what we're trying to do is orient the nuclei of the atom. According to the theory, the inertial mass comes from the randomness of the spins of the subatomic particles. So think of each subatomic particle as a fidget spinner. And a fidget spinner, when it's up and spinning, it likes to move on its axis and on its plane, moves freely. But if you try to spin it in any other direction, it fights that movement. So if you think of the core of the atom, a whole bunch of spinors, all with different precessions, and different orientations and different spin directions. They're all random in there. And you try to move that atom through space-time. What's happening is you're going to be energizing some of the subatomic particles by moving it against their spin. Like you'll be changing the spin orientation in order to allow you to move it through space-time. That's what the effect of inertial mass is. This is the hypothesis. So to negate the inertial mass, all you got to do is organize all these subatomic particles onto one axis, and then the craft on that axis can travel freely at the speed of light. In many UFO videos, you actually see this phenomenon. You'll see that the craft is hovering and it's very slowly tilting. The reason why it slowly tilts is because it takes a lot of energy to move it into a new orientation, because you've got to reorient every single atom in the craft. But once it's in the right orientation of where it wants to go, it shoots up directly at a 90-degree angle, perfectly straight up, and shoots off, into outer space, and it's gone within a millisecond or something like that. So this theory explains very nicely how that actually works and why it is that way. It also needs a secondary propulsion system, because negating inertial mass isn't enough. You need to actually move somewhere. You don't want to just be weightless. Otherwise, you can just get a hot air balloon. So once you're hot air balloon's not necessarily negating inertial mass, but you get the point. Once you get to this point of zero inertial mass, you're going to be adding on a secondary propulsion system like an M drive, or just shining a light out the side, because light does create a bit of a push. So if the entire craft weighed as much as one atom, off, right? And that flashes a light that people see when these UFOs fly off. Again, I've been on this show before, and we did a similar theory with the T. Townsend Brown effect. These are all hypotheses. Chances are they're wrong. Don't try the experiment. We're not going to be 100% sure about anything, but it does fit the explanation of how these flying saucers work. Jeremy, you there?
Yes, I am. I just turned my mic off because I was eating some crackers. I was getting hungry, and I want to keep this stream going. I'm going to have to eat something, consume something other than beer.
Beer's
But
good.
I'm partying it up because it's Friday night, and we're raiding Area 51. And it's awesome.
There's definitely be some people who are running for the gates.
Yeah, there's
not that
people,
I recommend it.
There's people in Las Vegas tripping on acid right now and dressed in like aliens. So I wouldn't doubt if someone runs at the gate. I don't know if anyone got shot. Dude.
What do you think happened there for real? Like with the two.
One person got arrested for peeing,
separating
for urinating at the gate. So he's probably drunk and he's like, "Oh, I gotta piss." You know, there's not a bathroom for friggin' 7 miles. And
he urinated over the fence. This is probably the worst time to go to Area 51. They have more porta potties than they have people at some of those parties. From some of the videos I saw, they were extremely well prepared. And the founder of the Area 51 event pulled out like a week before the event, saying it wasn't organized enough. But I saw all those porta potties. There was a truck full of water bottles, paramedics. They had everything set up there. Do you know anybody who went?
No, I don't.
Area 51 is probably empty by now. They've moved off all this equipment probably years ago. Maybe back when Bob Lazar was there was some equipment or some alien craft, but San Clemente Island, that island off the coast of California, that makes a lot more sense as a place to hide UFOs. There was a YouTube video. Somebody went down to Area 51 and had their own sighting, and they said they were off the coast of Southern California, and where they saw that Tic Tac UFO right over their head. It was like 30 meters above their sailboat in the middle of the night, and it stopped right on top of them and shined a beam at them, and then shot off at the speed of who knows what, like disappeared across the horizon in less than a second. And it was a husband and wife, and they swore to it, and they said they were the only ones there, and it was in the middle of the night, stormy seas. They were like tying up the sails, and this Tic Tac UFO just came overhead. It was really bright, shined a light on them, and shot off. And that was right next to the San Clemente Island, right off of Southern California.
Yeah, I'm trying to find more stuff on this. So oh yeah, ufologists have speculated that the subject shown in the FLIR video was captured near a little-known and secretive naval facility, the San Clemente Island Range Complex. Yes, I've been saying this. I'm glad like Vice published this because I'm the one who said that. You know, no one else was saying that about that before me. Everyone's like, "Oh, the Tic Tac off San Diego," and I'm like, "Well, what about the secret Navy base that's like right there?" You know, anybody talking about that? Nobody was, but now they are.
And that's the real Area 51. Let's see them store that.
Well, it's Area 52. What about Hangar 18? Edwards. Apparently, one of the theories is that all the UFO stuff isn't brought to Area 51. That was just what that is said in the MJ12 documents, that like Area 51 is the place where all the stuff gets brought to. Please, you know where the stuff really gets brought to? Hangar 18, Edwards Air Force Base.
In Dayton, Ohio?
That's where the Roswell stuff went, right?
Yeah, but that was at a very early stage. You know, they didn't really know where to send it. You know, with Roswell, you had the commander of the base admitting to the public that they found a down flying saucer. they were very unprepared for that. But since then, I'm sure protocols changed. I'd have a hard time believing they're bringing anything to Edwards Air Force Base nowadays.
Yeah. They probably have other facilities we don't even know about. Like San Clemente Island's a real good place to test stuff, though. It's so remote. It's way better than Area 51 because everyone's looking at Area 51. You get all these people going there and checking stuff out now. So, yeah, it makes more sense that they moved everything out of there 30 years ago than anything real. And they're never going to tell the public what's really going on. It's just, it's part of warfare and part of keeping secrets. And the stuff that's going to get out to the public in the mainstream is always going to be disinformation. But this is the biggest story of the entire century. This is the biggest thing that needs to happen. And that's why we want to get this kind of a team like this going, because it's sad that To the Stars Academy promised all this stuff about their
taking
science
the lead
division.
On it. Huh? They're sort of like taking the lead and taking all the money and all the attention when they're really giving back nothing but flashy videos.
They don't even have the science. They used to have the science. They used to have one of these things that said the science, the vault, the science. Now it's the vault in the company. Where's the science, dude? They used to have a thing on their page that said the
science turned into a vault.
It just disappeared. And now it's just and now you have to invest and sign up, like, to get, this is only the beginning. The beginning of what? Disinformation campaign, dude? What happened to your science, bro? Like, what happened to Hal why don't Hal Puthoff get on there and talk more about it? All he's released that one thing. It was really good. It had a lot of science in it, but they're not doing enough with it. They're not they're not pushing the ball further down the field and really there's so much questions that people have about this whole topic that aren't being answered and haven't been answered by anyone in the government or anyone out there, really. I think that what we're trying to do is the best. Like, I see it as the best answer to to all the questions that people have, because this is going to tell us, if we go through all this stuff, we're going to tell exactly when they figured it out. What was that actual date? Was it the 1950s? Was it the 1960s? When did they actually figure it out? Had they even figured it out?
More importantly, how it works.
Yeah, and how it works. That's yes, Mark. So I can't wait for this, man. Yeah, bro, I'm going to give a shout out to Mark Isol out there in the comments, and Renee Cruz. Whoop, whoop. Thank you, guys.
Renee's on every single chat.
They're on every
time I go on
stream I do, and they comment all.
Richard too. I saw her there too.
Yeah, thank you guys. You guys, I love having you guys on and having you around, and you guys are gonna be invited to our lab someday when this shit takes off and goes big. But for right now, we're just pedaling along and doing it one step at a time. I think big things are on the horizon, though, with the team we're putting together.
If anybody has some engineering background and is in the New Jersey, New York, in the tri-state area, definitely give us a buzz. Falcon Space Program at Gmail, and we'll check you out, add you to the team. We're interested in new ideas and new concepts and an extra hand. I mean, the photographer that came by the other day actually helped us cut up some of the aluminum, so we could use every extra hand we can get, although to a limit.
Yeah, right on. Well, I think I'm going to go and eat something and go do some more research and read some papers on polaritons and see what we can find.
Why don't you do some research on eBay, figure out what parts we need to actually create a Polariton?
Well, it's those
equipment we need.
I'm getting it. I already know, and we're already working on it. It's those material thin films. I actually have a little bit of material that you could generate Polaritons on. Already, it's a nano. I have a nano material that was sputter coated, similar thing. But yeah, we're gonna get into this and do all. It's a little tiny piece. It's like that big. So,
what do you need to excite it? Is it like a laser of some sorts or specific frequency?
Yeah, you'll hit it with a specific frequency, and that will excite the lattice structure. So, I want to get some lasers, and we got to get. I mean, it's gonna take off. It's going to take off a little bit at a time, and also like some of these experiments we can outsource to some of these other labs and get these lab partners. I think we need to start making some flyers and recruiting on these campuses, and that's what I'm going to start working on tonight and getting those out there, because I'm going to be going and I'm going to go actually meet with our web development team this weekend and do some more work on the web development for the getting those websites back up and online. And when I go up to Boston to meet up with him, I'm going to go make some flyers and drop them off at Harvard and MIT and the physics departments, and try to recruit some bright young kids to our team.
You put a little flyer on the pinboard. You Anti-Gravity Technology Research Lab, come and join.
Yeah, for real. And I want to have like a thing for people that don't want to be involved directly but want to see what we're doing and offer like kind of behind the scenes insights and stuff. They can drop like information without like I want to set up a thing for that too, because I have a feeling there's people working
constructive criticism.
There's people working on classified stuff all over this area that we're in. Lincoln Labs, MIT, Harvard, all those places. There's plenty of people working on this kind of stuff right now. Yeah.
And you think they're working on real anti-gravity technology? I wonder where it's manufactured, because like the Tic Tac UFO has to be built in some assembly somewhere. There's got to be a manufacturing plant for it. With parts coming in and raw materials coming in, there has to be some place where they're actually building these craft. You ever thought of that?
Yeah, all the time, man. We have so many places that they could do it. Underground, and I mean, there's got to be somebody out there doing it. I know that this stuff that they do around here there's a lot of optics labs and Polariton research and stuff like that. So, just who knows what's out there.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to outsource the Polariton experiments to an optics lab. I really don't know anything about that. You need extremely stable tables
yeah, sorry. Yeah, you need those tables. I have access to those. I can get access to some of those type of tables that we need to do that type of experiment. If we need. What was I going to say?
We haven't even finished the T. Townsend Brown experiment. We still want. I have another experiment with the capacitors, charging up high voltage capacitors and discharging them directly into a low voltage capacitor, and checking for any anomalies there. That could lead to a bit of an explosion, which would be exciting for a TV show.
Right.
You always want to see a couple sparks. The high voltage stuff gets people excited. Maybe one of the first episodes we can build those ion lifters and then show how they're not anti-gravity. Like, got to figure out a way to make it anti-climatic at the same time.
I
Like,
Yeah, well, it's Clement. You got to add drama. We'll have the producers. They know how to do all that stuff. The people who are going to put the show together and do the production and stuff. They're gonna make the suspense and the music, and then cue it in, and then the failure, and then it's going to be hyped up. So it'll be an interesting show nonetheless. And you'll think, is this the episode where they figure it out? Where they and I think it will be a really cool thing to do. Shit, what was I going to say? There was one other thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, yeah, the Donald Trump Space Force. Why did he create a Space Force? And I have this whole theory that there's basically a Manhattan Project going on right now behind the scenes that we don't know about, the public doesn't know about, and I don't even think Trump really knows too much about it. But there's a ton of funding going on into this right now. I want to show people some stuff about ESA. Polariton. If you type ESA and Polaritons, the ESA is European Space Agency, and these
European
guys.
Space Agency.
Yeah, I follow these people on Twitter. They're called Polariton Technologies. They only have 19 followers, dude, but they're
those are the real ones. Those are when you find those really niche anti-gravity related YouTubers that have a couple of videos
right.
and only a couple followers, you hit jackpot.
Yeah, these guys are jackpot. This is jackpot like stuff, when I saw this and I'm like, oh, these guys only got 17 friggin' followers.
I feel the same way about Falcon.
And they're doing it. These guys are doing the Polariton research for the European Space Agency, and they're pushing the ball down the road over there in their labs for understanding these types of. This is going to be the future of our spacecraft and stuff all over the world. So it's not just happening in the U.S. with Space Force and whatever is going on here behind the scenes in a lot of places. There's also a lot of stuff going on in other companies and other countries, and a lot of classified stuff. Tons of people working on this and related technologies. It's really amazing what is really going on right now. So we want to get a part of it, but we want to be the open source people to kind of when these people are ready to go forward with some shit too. I want to go and be there to interview them and work with other labs who are doing stuff and interview them and get it out. So I have this whole vision. I really need help pulling it all together with the right people and stuff. So hopefully we get this, we get something going here in the next couple months. By 2020, I'm hoping to launch it. Great year to do that. Such a thing, 2020 vision, clarity. We're going to make a lot of things happen in this upcoming year, and getting it all set up now in the next couple months, and really excited. So anything else you want to share, Mark, before I'm going to wrap this up? I want to start winding down my night.
No, I mean, if you guys, if you know anybody who can out, send us a line, and we hope to have some more professional video coming up soon. And if we ever do discover anti-gravity, you'll be the first to know.
Right on, man. Well, the quest begins here, and it's not over by any means. And we're hoping to push this ball down the field further than anyone's ever gotten it. I can't wait.
I don't know anybody else like us. Like, there's no other. We don't have any competitors. It's like an open field.
Yeah, well, I think
there's nobody else. There's nobody else actually trying these experiments, and
that whole thing about
putting their mouth where they're.
That award that was given to Corbell about UFO researcher of the year. We're going to put a whole new definition to UFO research and what UFO research is about and should be about. Because it's no longer about debating balls of light in the sky or getting them on film or figuring out, what are they here or not? No, they're here. Now it's the question of how they work, and that. So, I think it's quite awesome what's going on, and we're gonna raid NASA next year. Yeah.
Didn't you have NASA contact you with?
I got
offering
some.
you some lab space.
Yeah, I still got that guy from NASA that said he can help us out and wants to help us out. So yeah, there's some people in there I want to interview. I want to just get the team built and do more media to get. It's really about educating the public on this stuff and get at this point and really getting the science out through effective scientific disclosure. You know. I know it's crazy how the people.
Or you do an experiment. Or so, people like that guy.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna wrap it up
You know,
here,
if you're-
guys. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.
Okay.
And we're gonna be bringing this out, guys. This is only the beginning. You wait till you see all this is just a couple pictures, dude. Wait till you see all the film we shot and the actual experiment running and stuff, and the way we're gonna edit it together with this these super high def cameras and audio equipment. We also went back and did an interview in the studio afterward, like a little private interview, which we're gonna we'll share with you guys soon once it's all edited down and ready to go. I can't wait, guys. All right, everyone, have a good night. Thanks for watching and tuning in. And Air Radio
Peace
Area
out.
51. Peace out.
Peace out, guys.
Raid Area 51.